Good evening and Happy New Year, everyone. The first live stream of 2021 and my first live stream beer of 2021. Although not, it has to be said, my first beer of 2021. I did stay up on New Year's Eve and let the new year in. I wasn't going to, but has anyone else in the UK noticed that, we used to have fireworks like in the first week of November? Cheers, by the way. And now it just seems to kind of go on from November till New Year. And the dog gets freaked out by fireworks, so I had to stay up and kind of make sure he was okay. Who we got in tonight then? We've got Ozzy. Nice to see you. Ozzy, Happy New Year, mate. Lee's there, Capo. Sargi's in. How are you, Sargi? I think I saw Bottleneck Bob earlier on in the chat there. And Peter Howard. Colin Falcon, how are you doing, mate? S. Wainscott, Johnny Random, all of the usual suspects, it seems. It is good to be back in the swing of things, isn't it? Cheers, everyone. I hope you all had a fantastic Christmas, albeit, kind of a quiet one because of, obvious circumstances that we won't talk about. But, I got to tell you, it didn't really interfere with our plans. Well, it did a little bit because we were supposed to be having friends coming to stay, but that obviously had to kind of be cancelled. But that's why there are such things as Zoom and a new one I've actually discovered, which is I was using for sort of a virtual pub over Christmas, a thing called Jitsi, which is like Zoom but it's free. Yes, yeah, pretty much the same here, Bob. A different Christmas, but made the best of it. I'll be honest with you. I could sum up Christmas in our household with in a sentence, really: beer, food, television. Basically, that was it. But I don't know. Did anybody else think that it was an absolutely kind of poor show on TV in the UK over Christmas? We just ended up, kind of using, I think, Amazon Prime or Netflix or one of those that we've got. You forget which ones you're watching, especially when you've had a few of these. But that's basically we were using streaming services all over Christmas and didn't have a problem finding anything to watch. But, you check the TV guide for what's on the actual terrestrial TV and you think, nah, not watching any of that. Is it me or is John getting taller? No, it's because I've got the laptop. There, is that better? Evening, Graham. How are you, mate? Happy New Year, Steve. How are you? Yes, I do agree with you on that one, Bob. Yes, the BBC they didn't cover themselves in glory this Christmas, but I don't think we're alone in thinking that. Don't have a TV, Phil? Yeah, well, to be honest with you, it wouldn't be a hardship for me to live without a TV, but if I was to say to my missus, you can't watch Coronation Farm or EastEnders Street anymore, then I think it would end up in the divorce courts, to be honest with you. What about dry January? Oh, don't get me started. Don't get me started on that. In fact, you have done. Is January not a bleak, miserable, dour, dismal enough month already? And then along comes some thin-lipped, tight-cheeked, joyless, sandal-wearing lentil basher who tells you that tries to shame you into, giving up your beef Wellington and your bacon sandwich and your hard-earned flagon of ale on a Friday. Yes, I think you can guess my views on all of that nonsense. Yes, Kieran, I'm with you on that one, mate. Sorry, I'm trying to keep up with the chat. There's a lot of people in for such an early one tonight. I think, have you missed me? I've missed you. I have missed this on a, kind of on a Friday. Even I did consider doing a New Year's Day one, but I was feeling a little bit delicate on New Year's Day. Let's leave it at that. I was going to do dry January, and the missus agreed I'll do a drier January instead. Well, yes, it's just, I mean, it's just, I think it's just, I don't know what it is actually. It just seems to be a lot of people who want to, feel smug about, oh, well, of course I'm doing dry January. Well, good for you, but I'm not. Anyway, where are we? Mainly YouTube and Netflix for my viewing these days. Yes, I'm with you on that, Gary. We've got one of those little dongles that plugs into the TV. I think it's called a Now TV stick, and it basically turns your TV into a smart TV, and you can get all of the kind of streaming services on it, YouTube and stuff. And as I said in yesterday's video, that's how I'm listening to music nowadays. I'm absolutely loving Spotify, and I know people kind of talk about that as though it's it's giving a raw deal for musicians, but the thing is, the business model of the music industry has changed. And once upon a time, when a band used to go out on tour as a way of promoting the album, where people would go out and buy the album, and that would be the cash cow that would provide the record company and the artist with an income. These days, it's the other way around. You basically give your music away free in order to sell tickets for concerts, or obviously not under current circumstances, but who could have foreseen that? But the thing is, my music is on Spotify, and I'm a musician, and I make a living from music. There. So, that's why I don't have a problem with Spotify. By the way, I've got to tell you this. John, can you play the theme to Ulysses 31? I don't know. I possibly. It's not a piece I'm familiar with. So yes. Anyway, I'm just keeping up with the chat here. Beg your pardon. Slip of the tongue there. Yes, a thing happened to me today, and I was out walking the dog, and I got a couple of phone calls, and one of them was from somebody that said, is that the guitar teacher? I said, yes, it is. Oh, okay. I live in Mask, which is like a town just near us. And I was wondering if you could do some guitar lessons. And I said, well, I can, but it'll have to be online. She says, yeah. And she says, yes, but I only live local to you. I said, yes, but, there are rules in place, which mean that, we can't do that at the moment. It's called a lockdown. And, oh, okay. So you wouldn't be able to come to my house to do the guitar lessons? I said, no, I can't. It's I'm just not doing that. I don't do home visits anyway, and you can't come to me because of the current situation. Oh, okay. Well, I'm not sure my guitar's in tune. Could I bring it round to you so you could kind of look at it and tune? I said, no, I'm sorry, but we can't do that. And all the while this conversation's going on, I'm hearing it sounds like an office environment in the background. You can hear kind of people tapping away on keyboards, and there's like sort of general hubbub of an office environment, phone ringing here and whatever. And it just smelt a little bit funny. And the crowning thing was this lady said, I'd love to be able to play like Eric Clapton or Tony Iommi. I said, who? Tony Iommi. And tappity tappity tap, you could hear the keyboard. Tony Iommi from Black Sabbath. Get out. You know, obviously kind of Tony Iommi, but, you know, she was reading it as Tony Lomi because couldn't spot the difference between an I and an L. And I was just wondering if that was someone from the relevant local government department, you know, trying to do a little bit of entrapment, you know, because it always kept coming back around to, can you visit me or can I visit you, and, you know, so it's just, come on, get a life. Tony Lomi is awesome. Okay, your mate's dad plays keyboard for a massive band and says they only make money from touring now. I believe I know who that band is, Kieran, because you might have mentioned it once or twice. Evening, Craig. How are you, mate? Yeah, it does sound like somebody extracting the proverbial, doesn't it, Colin? Have you checked out the main squeeze on YouTube, John? Their cover of Have a Cigar is immense. No, I haven't, but I'm always looking for new stuff to look at on YouTube in the rare occasions when I do get time to sit and kind of look at YouTube for pleasure. Hi, John. Finally able to join you live for a pint. I've got plum porter delivered from my local. Well, good for you, mate. I'm just on my usual tipple these days, the Morrison's export. Although over Christmas I had some of those, those kegs that you can buy in supermarkets of the Czechoslovakian Budvar. That was a nice drop. That was, and I might just have to have some more of that, because unlike beer out of a can, beer out of a keg is much less fizzy. So, you watch any Dave Simpson videos, John? I do when I get a chance. I do when I have an average Dave Simpson video is about an hour long, isn't it? So when I've got on the rare occasion when I do have an hour to sit and okay, I'm just going to watch something now. I do occasionally watch his videos. Yes. Hell of a player. I really, really rate that guy as a player, and just his whole outlook on life as well. He looks like Catweasel and he doesn't care. It's just like he is who he is, and you take him or leave him, and I think that's just a really kind of cool way to be, really. Yes, Budvar is a proper good drop. So there was a bunch of people in the office checking if you was not in a room with other people. I think if it is what I think it was, Johnny, I think it was probably just the relevant authorities just ringing round local businesses to see if they could catch anyone out. I think that's what it was probably going on. And I mean, to be honest with you, since all of this kind of took off and my business went predominantly online via Zoom or Jitsi or Skype or Teams or whatever, any of the ones that I use, I just find it a much easier way of doing business. It's just for me, it's more convenient, and I get more work done, and I seem to get kind of more. I just prefer it as a way of working. So I'm thinking about I'm not going to, when all of this is over, I'm not going to turn away what I would call walk-in customers, but I am going to try and prioritize and kind of push the online side of things, because I just prefer it. Where are we? Oh, what's the show this week? Yes, sorry. Yes, I haven't. I'm slipping. I've got out of the habit of doing all of this. I normally tell you what's coming up on the channel this week, don't I? Right. Okay. Well, tomorrow Saturday, the Saturday video is I'm responding to an email. Basically, I got an email from a viewer, a lad called Mikey, who basically he's really confused about theory, and he wanted some particular aspect of theory explaining and demonstrating in as concise a way as possible. And if I kind of did it, if I managed to kind of get it across in this video in a short manner, then he might be buying one of my courses. So that's what tomorrow's video is all about. Cracking solo in it as well, I have to say. I'm quite proud of the solo in tomorrow's video. Then, talking of great solos, then the one that has been much requested of late, since about November. I've been starting to get requests for this one. Well, let me just say, an iconic guitar solo from, well, two solos actually from the same song. And if I tell you it was played by, both solos were played by a chap called Ian Bainson, that might give you a bit of a clue as to what the song is. And, you know, you've got to be kind of a bit of a nerd to know that one. Tuesday is going to be one of these Why I Love This Album videos. Haven't done one of those in a while, and I've been wanting to talk about this album for quite a while, so that's what that is. For me, it is one of the, if not the best live album ever recorded. And by live album, I don't mean like kind of a live album that is then taken back into the studio and fixed. I'm talking about a live album that is exactly what the audience in the venue would have heard on the night. Then Wednesday is going to be the final installment of the series of videos I've been doing on blues lead guitar playing, and we're looking at some of the spicy stuff in that video. It's all going to be about adding the little easy ways, actually staggeringly easy ways of adding the exotic kind of Robin Ford, Larry Carlton kind of sound to your blues. Thursday, haven't decided what we're going to be doing on Thursday yet, but something will probably come to me. It usually does. Someone did mention, you know, when a little while ago when I was doing those videos about, you know, kind of how ridiculously expensive some certain kind of types of guitar could be, you know, how much, those videos that I did. Somebody did suggest doing a video right at the opposite end of the spectrum, you know, like kind of something probably along the lines of so cheap you might as well be stealing it, something like that. I'm thinking about doing something like that on Thursday. We shall see. And then, as I say, Friday we're back on the beer again. Cheers. Yes, I did, Jason. I did see that video that Rick did. I watched it last night, actually. You know, I would. Another guy I'm getting into who does similar videos is Warren Hewitt. You know, he did. I watched two of them back to back last night. I watched the Rick Beato one on Just What I Needed, and I watched the Warren Hewitt one on In the Air Tonight. And the thing is, that song, In the Air Tonight, the Phil Collins song, it's just become so much a part of, you know, the kind of musical environment that we inhabit. And you forget, when you go back and listen to it, I'm not the world's biggest Phil Collins fan by any stretch, but that is a great song, I think. Hello, sir, says Cornucopia. What's your opinion on Gordon guitars? I think they're fantastic guitars. I briefly had one back in the early to mid 90s. It was a really lovely Strat type guitar, but it was like, you know, kind of three hot rails pickups, and they were direct mounted into the body of the guitar, no scratch plate or anything, and beautiful quilted maple top. An absolutely gorgeous guitar, and yeah, I was sorry to see that one go, but I needed to thin out the herd a little bit. And a good friend of mine back then had a similar guitar, but it was like a Telecaster style guitar. Beautiful guitars, Godin guitars. What's for dinner tonight, John, says Timbo. Beef hot pot, as it's bloody cold tonight. Yes, I'm gonna have to get the slow cooker out and do some more cooking in that. It's that kind of weather. But tonight, it's usually curry on a Friday, but the wifey, she's not feeling on full form at the moment. She's had a little bit of an upset stomach. We'll leave it at that. So we're not having curry tonight. We're having a kebab shop tea. There's kebabs turning up at 7 o'clock. So it's going to be kebabs, beer, and just feet up in front of the TV tonight. Considering a sterling cutlass, yeah. The thing about those Music Man guitars, okay, obviously if you've got kind of oodles of money, you can buy one of the US made ones. The sterling guitars, I've played a couple of those and they're pretty good, but the ones that the ones which are kind of seem to be more prevalent now are the sub ones, which are like really, really kind of, let's say, affordable, kind of prices. And I played one or two of those and they're okay. Some of them, well, one that I played was really kind of fret buzzy and fret sprouty, and it wasn't a pleasant. If you're competent at setting up a guitar, then it's it's easy enough to sort that kind of thing out. But if you can find a Music Man sterling, they are really, really good guitars. Thank you, Stevie. She's in the next room at the moment. She's just watching TV on the laptop and kind of just recuperating. She just needs a bit of feet up time, I think. She's been working all over Christmas and everything, so not that that's any excuse, but she's been doing odd shifts and stuff, and I think it's all caught up with her a little bit. No curry on a Friday. This is unheard of. Well, there will be a curry over the weekend at some point, mate. I can assure you of that. It's not a weekend without a curry. And to be sort of semi-serious for a moment, we have a really, really good Indian takeaway near us, Bengal Spice, it's called. And businesses like that are suffering at the moment. And if I'm in a position to be able to afford to, kind of support them by having the odd extra kind of takeaway from them and just showing a little bit of support for them during, these kind of tricky times, then that works to my advantage, because it means they're still going to be there when we come out the other end of all of this. Have you ever played with an EBO or similar? No, well, similar, yes. I played a guitar, dear me, years ago with the Floyd Rose Sustainer system on it, which is like kind of essentially having an EBO built into the guitar. And that was a fun thing. It just, you can play a note and it will just go on forever. But I've never actually used the actual EBO thing. I am thinking about maybe kind of grabbing one and doing a review on it. We shall see. You enjoyed your curries so much you bought the company. Fair enough. Yes, that's the old Victor Kayan thing, isn't it? Yes. It is, isn't it, Bob? You know of Bengal Spice in Redcar, mate. Yes, they do an absolutely stunning dry chicken tikka there. Anyway, let's shall we bring the conversation back around to music and guitars? I put that video up yesterday about Spotify, and as part of that video, I said that, you know, I tried the whole kind of lossless audio format, FLAC. Was it free lossless audio codec? And much as I would like to say that yes, I could, my ears are kind of so well attuned, and I could definitely hear a difference. I genuinely couldn't, and I will go further than that. I will say that once an MP3 gets above kind of say what's the higher bitrate MP3s, above sort of 320k. I cannot tell the difference between that and lossless audio. Does anybody else have any thoughts on that? Oh, well, thank you very much, John. You see, I was watching one of my heroes who will be featured on the channel soon, I promise you, is Chris Rea. And a great sort of long form interview with him I saw today. It's check out the podcast, The Greatest Music of All Time. It's on YouTube. And Chris was being interviewed by this chap who runs this podcast. And, I think Chris Rea is one of the most highly underrated slide guitar players there is. I think he should be considered up there with the likes of Sonny Landreth, to be honest with you. And, he was saying he just doesn't really think of himself as being, any good. It's just because all he hears when, he listens to him is playing is the things. Has Chris's car passed its MOT yet, John? I don't know, mate. But, people, without wishing to blow my own trumpet, people kind of often compliment me on my guitar playing, but I always don't know how to deal with it because, I've got the theory knowledge, and most of my tuition stuff is, as you probably noticed, kind of geared towards kind of saying, and this is why this note works, and that's why that note works, and this is a clever note to include, and all of that sort of stuff. But in terms of actual, playing on the guitar, I genuinely, I don't really kind of, I don't rate myself that highly, to be honest. People say I'm good, but I have that typical northern bloke thing of not being very comfortable when people pay me compliments. Vaping, I've seen the beautiful North and the shitty South Tone Rider pickups are damn good. Well, fair enough. Yes. It's one brand of pickup I don't think I've ever knowingly used, but I do hear great things about them. As you know, if I'm going to kind of recommend a brand of pickups, Vanson. Did anybody see the Mike from China Guitars channel doing the review of what was effectively the prototype for this guitar? The wonderful Scott guitars, which has now become my signature model. Anyone see his video on that China Guitar Skeptic? He was blown away by the Vanson pickups in that guitar, and and if you're looking for great pickups that are just ridiculously cheap, then just go and get a set of Vanson Classic 57 Alnico 2 humbuckers, and the single coils are really good as well. It's they're like 35 quid a set, and it's just ridiculous how good they are. He was indeed, wasn't he, Colin? Yeah, blown away by it. And I couldn't resist leaving a cheeky little comment on the video saying, "Lovely guitar, Mike. I have one just like it." Oh dear me, I'm getting the flavour now. It has to be said. Um, John is averaging a pint every 15 minutes. Amazing. Well, it's not quite a full pint though, is it? Back in my reckless days as a callow youth, um, when I used to go out in this little small town where I lived at the time, Ambleside in Cumbria, if anyone knows that place. Lovely little place to live. There was like a circuit of the pubs that you used to do, and I used to smoke in those days, and the challenge amongst the crowd of us who went out was you had to drink a pint in the same amount of time it used to take you to smoke a cigarette. Oh dear me, that used to get messy. You bought a Vanson high output pickup for your next guitar build because what's the build going to be, mate? What you making? Oh dear me, Steve Hoggerton. Are you alcohol free? Are you doing dry January, Steve? Every time you've been in here lately, you've been letting the side down, mate. Any thoughts on Gibson acquiring Mesa? Well, it doesn't bode well for Mesa, does it? I mean, my favourite until I got into Reaper as a recording software. My favourite recording software that I used for best part of a decade or more actually was Cakewalk. Gibson bought Cakewalk, and then suddenly Cakewalk were no more. I know they've come back since, but it's. I used to use Sonar at one point. It was a great piece of software that, and then, as I say, Gibson got it, and then suddenly, Cakewalk weren't there, and that does seem to be something of a track record for Gibson. When they acquire a company, it doesn't bode well for the long-term prospects of that company. Dry January, Steve. Oh dear me. If you were in earlier, you'll have heard my thoughts on that. You're building a straight 6 Strat. Does anyone remember the model from 2007, 2008? Vaguely, yes. I think I do, yeah. So, well, is it going to be like a parts caster? Are you kind of getting busy with the bandsaw and all that sort of stuff? I'm doing dry January. If it rains, I stay inside. Much as I would like to agree with that, we have a border collie, and I got absolutely. I went. Redcar today is, it could pass for Siberia. Well, we don't have the snow, but we certainly have the temperatures. It is absolutely Baltic cold out there. And you've got sideways sleet driven by a wind coming in off the North Sea. And took the dog out and, kind of double layered fleece coat, kind of 2 laser gloves. Still came back absolutely kind of soaked to the bone. So that's my excuse. I'm getting wet from the inside now. Anyone remember Nady wireless systems from the 80s? I tried one on loan from a shop where I worked. Knocked out the signal for the neighbour's TV. Yeah. I've never used at the gig a wireless system. I don't know. It just feels. I like that security blanket of having looking down and being able to see a physical kind of link between me and the amplifier. Oh, okay. So you taking a Bullet Strat. Fair enough, mate. Yeah. I mean, those Bullet Strats are great guitars to use as modding platforms. I'm still thinking of doing some kind of parts caster. But the thing is, It used to be the cheap option building a parts caster, but by the time you've bought, a decent neck where the frets aren't going to turn to compost within 6 months, and a half decent body, and then kind of finished it and everything, and sort of kind of fettled it up how you want, then it actually costs more than something like a Harley Benton or even just a Yamaha Pacifica. So it's, and if you buy the kit guitars, then you're getting the you're getting the body and the neck, but then you can pretty much kind of junk the pickups and the electronics and the tuners and everything, because they're just going to be in my experience, usually they aren't particularly good quality, and you're going to want to replace them. But I am thinking of doing either a build project or a customization project, because I haven't done one in ages. Tony Rice died recently. An amazing guitar player. Bluegrass flat pickers are second to none, and put most so-called rock gods of the guitar to shame. Yeah, I've got to agree with you on that, mate. I hadn't heard about Tony Rice. How are you, Matty? Matthew Lockwood's in. How are you, mate? But if you've ever seen the series of TV shows that the Foo Fighters did, Sonic Highways, the Nashville one, where the Foo Fighters go all kind of country. Dave Grohl makes exactly the same point in that video. Most of these, kind of country guitar players, they've got the technique to end up in a band like, Slayer, or something, in terms of the speed they can play at. And Albert Lee, I mean, there's a classic example of a guy who, dear me, he's got a fair turn of speed, hasn't he? I've been using my new I've been using my new sat-nav endorsed by U2. It's terrible. The streets have no name. I still haven't found what I'm looking for. Oh, dear me. Yes, indeed. Yes, did that come out of a Christmas cracker? Yeah, I saw that one, James. Yeah, that's I do like Daryl's channel. He does a lot of, how many guitars must that guy have now, by the way? Because you see, like, all lit up in purple behind him, don't you? Unlike my backdrop here, which is, you can see Jackie's hair products behind it. Not mine, as you may have gathered. Yes, I should get around to tidying up in here at some point. But yeah, I do like Daryl's channel, and he does some interesting build projects. Daryl's latest vid is a telly build with all parts from Guitar Fetish. I was wondering whether you'd seen it and if you think you prefer to get a classic vibe or a Harley Benton. Well, now, I saw that video where he was kind of unboxing all the parts. Classic vibe or Harley Benton. Well, the thing is with Harley Benton, nowadays, you've got to kind of, when you're shopping for Harley Benton guitars, because of, UK leaving the EU, and let's not get into that, because I'm sure some of us have strong opinions on the matter, and the thing is, strong opinions are often divisive opinions, aren't they? So let's not kind of fall out, is what I'm saying. But when you see prices on Toman nowadays in the UK, you've got to factor in the cost of VAT and stuff. But even so, factoring that in, I like Squier classic vibes. I really, really do. I think I would rather have a Squire Classic vibe than if I was having to go for something from Fender. I would rather have something at the top end of the Squire range than the bottom end of the Made in Mexico range. But even so, I still think I'd go for the Harley Benton. You know, it's just so much better value, I think. And yes, the setup will probably need a little bit of tweaking, but then again, I'm okay with that. Where are we? Oh, somebody comparing me to Alvin Lee? Dear me. Only the other day I was compared to Jimmy Page. Indeed, yes. Someone said, "You're not as good as Jimmy Page, are you?" Where are we? Yeah, I agree with you, John. Country and bluegrass players do have a tendency to go under the radar. It's because I think certainly in the UK, country music does have still a little bit of a dodgy reputation. I'll tell you what I mean. A mate of mine, actually kind of said to me in hushed tones once, he says, I've been really getting into some country music, but don't tell anyone. I think it's because it has that sort of that image of songs about, puppy dogs dying in the rain and, kind of good old boys and pickup trucks and beer. And not there's anything wrong with that, but, it does have that sort of slightly redneck kind of connotations to it, which, again, I'm not making any judgments, but, it's seen as a little bit, kind of low rent, I guess, in a lot of places. And I think it's such an unfair thing, because you look at, where a lot of the great songwriters, especially nowadays, I mean, in popular music, you've got, a lot of the stuff nowadays is just like a 4-bar loop of chords that's repeated over and over and over again. I mean, I'm doing some work with like younger students, and I'm kind of looking at songs by acts like Juice WRLD, for example, and it's just like once you've got the first 4 bars, you've got the entire song. And if you're looking for, like I like, which is, kind of interesting and well-crafted chord sequences, country music seems to have the franchise on that at the moment. Fender pretty often drop their bass 6, don't they? Yeah. I mean, never really been interested in like that whole kind of baritone kind of, or tuned an octave down style of guitar playing. It just never really, or even 7-string guitars. I'm just like, I got to tell you, I'm just a bit of a boring old, 6-string standard tuning kind of guy. Deep Purple's still rocking it, John. They seem very underrated. I've just got their new album, or relatively new album, Whoosh, and I got to tell you, I'm loving it. Infinite, which was their last album. If you get the chance to see a documentary, it usually crops up on Sky Arts, called From Here to Infinite. It's like sort of a behind the scenes of the recording of that album. Brilliantly interesting. But yeah, I'm loving Deep Purple at the moment. In fact, I'm going to upset a lot of people here, I know, when I say this, but I would say that the Steve Morse era of Deep Purple, for me, is my favourite era of Deep Purple. I'm not trying to denigrate, the kind of classic Mark II lineup, which is, I suppose, what everybody holds up as the Holy Grail. But I just think, I just like Steve. I prefer Steve Morse's guitar playing overall above Richie Blackmore. And I also think that as Ian Gillan's voice has kind of matured, I think he's got a more soulful voice these days. I just think his voice is better. He can't reach the high notes like he used to. Like, I doubt if he could hit those high notes on Child in Time as effortlessly as he could back in the day. But I think what he's gained as he's kind of matured, it far outweighs what he's lost as a vocalist. Jimmy Page will be 77 tomorrow. Who is your favourite guitar player? Is it Brian? Well, I love Brian Setzer. Yeah. I mentioned in a video not years ago, months ago, that the first thing I do on a morning is put an album on. I get up ridiculously early on a morning, and just so I can sort of sit and kind of ease myself into the day, and I do that by listening to music. And this morning's album of choice was Brian Setzer Ignition. Fantastic album. Check it out. Did you hear when Richie Blackmore blanked Eddie Van Halen and Gary Moore at a Rainbow gig? I didn't, but it doesn't surprise me, Ozzy. It really doesn't. That's another thing. There's a topic of conversation. If it becomes kind of known and kind of reasonably widely accepted that a particular musician is a bit of a knob, as we say in these parts, does that affect your appreciation of their music? Because it certainly does for me. I'll give you a case in point. I love the Eagles, right? And I don't wish to speak ill of the dead, but if anybody saw that history, but I will, if anybody saw that documentary, The History of the Eagles, when they reformed, and Glenn Fry kind of just openly said, the only way this is going to work is if I get more money than everybody else. I just thought, what? And up until that point, I'd always thought he was like a pretty nice, kind of stand-up guy, but that just made me think, yeah, you're a bit of a knob, really, aren't you? And that sort of tainted my appreciation of his music, basically. I watched a Jimmy Page interview where he said as a kid, his family moved into a new house. In the corner was an old acoustic guitar left by the previous residents. He tried it, and the rest is history. Fate indeed. I mean, I've got to tell you, the way I took up guitar was I just used to flip from one thing to another as a kid. I was, at one point I was determined I was going to become a grandmaster at chess. That was my overriding ambition. So I was mad keen on chess for a while. Still love music, but chess was the thing. And then went through a few various things and settled on the guitar, and it's just a fad that's never really passed. Have you listened to Roy Buchanan, John? Of course I've listened to Roy Buchanan. I actually discovered Roy Buchanan back in the 80s when I read about his sad death. Didn't he kind of take his own life in a police cell? I think that was the story, wasn't it? And saw all the kind of obituaries in Guitar Player magazine. I thought, who's this guy? So, kind of decided to check him out and was absolutely blown away. I mean, it's what a touch he had. And the thing is, it's the thing that convinced me of at the time was when I first heard, for instance, Sweet Dreams, I was sure, I was absolutely confident. I just knew I was listening to a Gibson Les Paul at the time. And then you find out, oh, actually, that's a Telecaster. And that was kind of one of the things that set me on the route to thinking, oh, okay, so a Telecaster isn't just that thin, kind of trebly, kind of scratchy sounding guitar that I thought it was at the time. A Chess Friday live stream wouldn't be the same. No, I got to tell you, it wouldn't. No, I got to tell you there, Mosman, Don Henley, yes, he hasn't impressed anyone recently after his little spat with YouTube. It's, I don't know, if any of you guys, and I'm sure some of you are my Patreon supporters, then you will get my monthly Patreon podcast. And I did kind of have a bit of a rant on that a while ago about, how these, kind of 70s, 60s, 70s, and I guess 80s rock stars who are overprotective of their copyright and don't allow their music to be kind of featured on YouTube videos and stuff, they're shooting themselves in the foot, because, people are going to say, well, once they've gone, once they're no longer there, their music is not going to survive as easily as people who've kind of taken a little bit more of a liberal approach. I mean, for instance, I remember a few years ago, Monty Python made all of their kind of archive available on YouTube for free, and that's why, you can meet kind of teenagers nowadays who are just as enthusiastic Monty Python fans as people of my generation, maybe a chess game against everyone here might be a good idea. Maybe not. Yes, I think maybe not. Dave Stewart from the Eurythmics is a tidy guitar player. Yes, from not far away from me, actually. He's from Sunderland. Don't Look Back in Anger by Oasis is a classic. Yes, I would agree. That was when I first heard that song. Tell you when it really kind of hit home to me that Oasis weren't just another flash in the pan kind of flavour of the month. If anyone remembers a British TV drama from the 1990s called Our Friends in the North, the final scene from the final episode of that show, which is a brilliant show, by the way, featured that song, and I thought, oh, okay, yeah, this is good. This is a rock classic here, and it was at the height of all of that kind of Blur versus Oasis kind of thing, and it just made me think, yeah. I mean, I did a video, didn't I, a while ago about the solo from that song. Thing is, Noel Gallagher is not a virtuoso guitarist, but then again, neither is Keith Richards. He's not. It's not about playing, ridiculously technically difficult stuff that is, playing to the gallery. It's about playing what is, pertinent and perfect for the song. And since I heard Don't Look Back in Anger, that basically I bought the album back then, What's the Story, Morning Glory. And it's one of those albums, and it's a rare album, and it'll probably feature on one of my videos soon. It's one of those albums where you never feel you need to skip a track. You never feel like, oh, a bit weak, this song, and skip forward to another one. And to me, that's the making of a classic album. Been trying for years to play slide guitar. It all just sounded twangy and not smooth until I put some rubber gloves on the fingers so the slide doesn't wobble about, and hey presto. Well, that's novel. I've never heard that one before. As you know, just a selfless or selfish little plug here, I do a Udemy course on slide guitar. And, I do discuss in that course, kind of how to kind of have the slide and everything. I never once thought about using rubber gloves. Oh, I see. Codzilla does not share my opinion on What's the Story Morning Glory. Fair enough, mate. Well, different strokes and everything. Are you off, Deco? Are you off, mate? I won't be long myself, to be honest with you, because I'm on my last beer now. Well, not my last beer. There's a whole kind of shed load more down in the shed, actually. But yeah, Liam Gallagher. That's Liam Gallagher. Now there is a case in point. I was talking earlier about if somebody is a little bit of a knob, does that kind of influence you one way or another about the music? And fortunately for me at the time, I didn't realise that Liam back then was a bit of a knob. I agree with you. He has matured. And he's grown up a bit, hasn't he? I mean, when you think about it, they were all young lads when they went from kind of literally kind of playing pubs and kind of bars and stuff to playing stadiums within about 18 months. And when you're kind of in your early 20s, that sort of thing's got to kind of affect you a little bit. Liam Gallagher need to learn how to walk. I know what you're saying, Anton. Yes. Yes, somebody else remembers what you're talking about, Willis. Yes, indeed. That was, I remember it well, actually. Chuck Berry, knob or not? Very definitely knob, it has to be said. And again, one of those things that when I first kind of heard Johnny B. Good and Maybelline and, kind of Memphis and all that sort of, you didn't realise just how much of a that kind of person he was. Can I tell you a story about my ding-a-ling? This is absolutely true, I promise you. My ding-a-ling was banned by the BBC because of the kind of double entendres in the lyrics and everything, and it was kind of completely, we can't play that on the BBC. And at the very same time, Tony Blackburn, who hosted the BBC Radio 1 breakfast show at the time, his record of the week, the record that he was plugging and kind of making absolute, kind of in raptures about, was Walk on the Wild Side by Lou Reed. So I listened to the lyrics of that song. Guns N' Roses great, Axl Rose knob. Yes, couldn't agree with you more, Craig, has to be said. I didn't see that one, Peter. I didn't. I quite got into INXS at the time. It was that kind of time in the 80s when they came out, when every guitar band was like some, spandex-clad, poodle-permed, kind of cookie-cutter LA rock band. And then along come this Australian band, INXS, and they were a rock band. It was all kind of guitar-driven stuff, but they just weren't from, and it was just so refreshingly different. Fantastic. I mean, that album Kick, I still listen to it today. The thing about Chuck is, I saw an interview with Bruce Springsteen, and when the E Street Band were just on the cusp of making it, I think it was around about the time when they were just getting the record deal. It was around about Greetings from Asbury Park, that kind of era. They got hired by a promoter to be Chuck's backing band, and literally Chuck turned up, plugged in, and launched into the first song. Nobody knew what key they were in. Nobody knew what song they were going to be playing. It was just like, you just had to, somebody yelled over at Chuck, what key? And he just yelled back, find it. which is, I'm sure we've all done gigs like that, but biggest knobheads in the music business. Great video idea. No chance of slander, though. Well, yes, but a high chance of the video not really kind of being around for too long. Rod Stewart is a knob. Ronnie Lane is a legend. Yeah, I mean, Ronnie Lane, you know, I still remember, what was that big hit that he had as a solo artist? How Come, wasn't it? That was his, again, that's on one of my Spotify playlists that I listen to. Blur were a bunch of knobs. Some of their behaviour interviews made Oasis look tame. Yeah, I got to tell you, I can't disagree with that. Sorry, I'm just catching up with the twat. I said it again with the chat here. Long live the small faces, indeed. I mean, you know, I'm talking to the small faces. Steve Marriott, what a vocalist! What an absolute classic. Again, doesn't get the recognition he deserves, and you know, left us way too soon. But you know, I mean, play me a better song than All or Nothing. I challenge you. Were the Sex Pistols? Well, yes, were the Sex Pistols knobs? I can see why a lot of people would say so, but I just have, whenever I see Johnny Lydon, Johnny Rotten, whatever you want to call him, he makes me laugh. You off, Bob? See you later, mate. And Steve Jones, you know, I just like his kind of down-to-earth Cockney geezer attitude, you know. And one of the things that I've got saved in our kind of Sky planner is the I think it was 2007, the gig that they did when they reunited to do that tour at Brixton Academy, and I love watching that. Yeah, John Lydon has, as you say, he has a glint in his eye. Jimmy Page wanted Steve Marriott to sing for Led Zeppelin. Now that's something I didn't know. See, I always find out new stuff on this thing. You know, the missus just thinks I'm drinking beer, but you know, it's educational. Well, Jason, was Jim Morrison a doorknob? Yeah, I've never been a fan of the Doors, and if anybody knows the Dennis Leary routine about the Doors, then I would wholeheartedly agree with that. Anyway, chaps, I'm just about to swig my last beer. And it's probably the time to let the dog out in the backyard to do with the essentials. So once again, thank you everyone for turning up. I've missed you over Christmas, and it's good to be back. But until next time, I'm going to say, for now, time, gentlemen, please.